Christmas 1983, I was in a pub and Dosh was in there, and I'd been in a band with Dosh's girlfriend before called Third Party. And she came up and she said, my boyfriend is a bass player and he'd be interested in putting a band together. Would you be interested? And we got together and he told me about his musical taste, and I said, right, what about a guitarist? And he said, yeah, I know this guy called Mc.Cann. And lo and behold, that was you. If you listen back to the first single, Laughing Jack Said, I mean that is quite a heavy sound. I mean, both, you know, from a production point of view, the drums were really in your face. Everything was in your face, you know, and it was quite stripped back as well.
Yeah,
there wasn't a lot. I mean, the style changed really sort of obviously, I think, after Dosh and Tim left.
Yeah.
And if you then move on to say the next lot of recording that we actually put out as vinyl, which would be Horseflesh, would it?
Yeah.
As a 12-inch.
Yeah.
Because we got signed up by Leeds Independent label.
Yeah.
It's then you get quite a softer sound in it, or a much more melodic sound, much more layered.
Yeah.
Henry the Flying Wonder Horse is in the stars tonight. So wicked, infantile, and talk too much, and him you against the wall, and in paralysis show a smile.
So what we are musical influences you brought into Hand Dance?
Obviously Bowie. I'm not sure if I was listening to Magazine at the time. Oh no, yeah, I will have been, definitely. Bowie, Magazine, Prince, all the sort of old rocky, Led Zeppelin, Doors, Wishbone Ash, stuff like that. Punky stuff, Clash, obviously, Penetration, all sorts of stuff.
Too many influences. I mean, I think, you know, Mick has just gone through a complete range, everything from sort of prog rock through punk, through, you know, the sort of glam rock phase, and I mean, I'd say pretty much that echoes my influences, but I also liked stuff like Neil Young, Joni Mitchell and American singer-songwriters, which I'm not sure, say, somebody with a purity like Dosh's vision for a band sort of like gelled too well, because I'd maybe put a bit too much, try and get too much melody into a song, when at the end of the day we were meant to be a post-punk band. But I think if there was one band that I would have liked us to be sort of from that era, it would have been something like Magazine, Howard Devoto's Magazine, because I just thought they combined a fantastic, interesting sound with really interesting lyrics and a presentation, and so not like the punk of, say, UK Subs or you know, one of those oi type bands, but something a bit more that you could think about.
In the present music scene, very few heroes. I mean, there are people who've existed since the 60s and 70s who are still going to a certain extent. People like Iggy Pop and Lou Reed and David Bowie. Although some have worn better than others, some have turned into boring old men like David Bowie. But Iggy Pop and John Cale, I still listen to.
That Prince is really quite sexy. I see him on stage and he excites me because he's got something about him that's a bit naughty. I don't think there's a right lot else going on, because everything else has been controlled and produced.
Reasons of musical differences, Dosh decided to go his own separate ways, and I think you'd then say that was Mark II, and John Lake came in on bass, much simpler bass playing style. And Tim left, we brought in Pete Westbrook, very accomplished drummer, and then I think to sort of change the sound even more, we had Roman Roman remains on keyboards.
On keyboards, yeah.
And a bit of mandolin from time to time.
Yeah.
And that was Mark II, and Mark II probably did our best work really. In terms of,
Yeah, possibly. Although I liked the stuff we were playing when we split up. Right at the end, the stripped back.
It was certainly
so
our
the
most
right?
productive and prolific era in terms of the music output, the recordings,
Yeah.
the album,
Yeah.
going down to London, playing lots and lots of gigs, building up a fair sized following, and that was good. We covered a lot of miles, played a lot of towns.
Yeah, we got around a lot, didn't we?
I
I sometimes forget how far we travelled playing and stuff. We went from bloody Carlisle to Brighton, didn't we?
we did, yeah. Carlisle, Brighton, we played Wales, we played West Country,
Newcastle, Midlands,
All
Nottingham,
over.
Leicester,
all over,
yeah.
and
Manchester, Liverpool.
yeah, it was good.
Did we ever play in Leeds?
Can see the fabrications, the swallow dust that a summer make. So lay back tight, come press your breast. They're making plans for stand harness.
The biggest bugbears in the music business are the sort of scavengers, and by that I mean the music press, who sort of fasten on to the music business. I think a lot of music journalists are frustrated musicians who have never been able to kind of make a career in music themselves. I mean, it's a fact that a lot of music journalists have tried to start up bands and not done very well out of it. And I think that they kind of take their revenge or their frustrations out on people who kind of become established in the music business. And I think they actually do a lot of damage to the music business in not reflecting accurately on what's going on. And I think combined with Radio 1 and the sort of establishment, I think they tend to distort what is actually going on in the music business.
Bad reviews makes you angry and frustrated, then that's a good review because they've hit something that you don't like. The way playing in a band is laziness. You've got to dedicate yourself to it a hell of a lot. There's a lot of work goes into playing a band. You don't just learn to play an instrument and turn up every Wednesday and then for practice and then turn up, for gigs whenever they go. You've got to dedicate yourself to try and get things happening for the band if you want to take it seriously. It's a lot of hard work.
The album was actually released on our own label, wasn't it?
Yeah, but what happened was Leeds independent label went bust, however they did, but Red Rhino had seen the sales, that's all they're interested in, from Horseflesh, and basically funded the album going out.
Yeah,
So,
distribution of it, yeah.
yeah, no, well, the printing and distribution of it.
Yeah.
So they actually funded the, and then Red Rhino went bust a little while later. When you say Red Rhino went bust, Red Rhino liquidated, whatever it is, and I think there was some shenanigans there that you should be careful with. But that meant that they had a lot of copies of our album, and I went over to York to get some because I didn't even have one copy of the album. I went over to York to get some, and they had everything else. They had everything else that Red Rhino produced except for our lot, and somebody from America had bought everything to do with us. All the albums, all the singles, it had all gone.
And I think that kind of explains a lot really, because when the internet came and you could like Google, and of course being vain people that we are, you started Googling Hang the Dance.
I never did.
A lot of the references in the early days were for records for sale on eBay and so on and so forth. But what I found absolutely amazing was there were so many record shops in the States that had copies of the album, had copies of Laughing Jack Said, which was nothing to do with Red Rhino.
No.
But stuff had turned up over there.
Yeah.
And recently, you've got this online magazine called Sisters of Romance that have an absolutely incredible sort of positive review of Ghost Bloody Country, and they're talking about buying it in a record bin in, I think it's New York actually,
Right.
and I'm like, that's quite mind blowing.
Yeah, it's bizarre. What it was we had that documentary made that got shown on US cable TV, and when we split up, there was serious talk, and there was a few things confirmed about doing a US college tour. Now, a college tour in the US isn't like a college tour in the UK. It's a big deal. It's quite.
And I think really at that point we were still sort of moving forward in trying to get gigs, and then we did the gig at the university refectory with the wedding present.
Yeah.
And sort of came off stage, and I don't know what had happened. It was a superb gig as well.
Oh yeah, no. I think that was the only gig we played in England after we come back from Germany, and we were a completely different beast live. We were tight as shit live after we come back from Germany. I think Roman had got his offer to join the Ukrainians, and I think we had another drummer by then. I don't know if it was still Paul or somebody else, but they just went off to do something else. You know, whether it was sell cars or I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
So it was a situation where there was me and you, and it was can we be arsed? Can we be arsed? And I think both of us just went, can't be arsed.
Yeah. It was a shame.
Yeah, it is. It is.